In March of 2008, a 21-year-old woman was found beaten and strangled in her Santa Monica apartment. The gas stove had been left on. A candle was burning nearby. Whoever killed her didn't just want her dead. They wanted to erase every trace that they'd been there. They failed. Investigators would recover DNA from the front door lock, from the victim's cell phone, from the back of her shirt, from her tank top, and from the skin of her own throat. 6 separate locations. One profile. One person. The problem was, no one could explain why that person would want her dead. And when the case finally reached a jury, 5 years later, the answer the prosecution gave was not enough. Juliana Redding grew up in Tucson, Arizona. By all accounts, she was vivacious, ambitious, and magnetic. After graduating from South Point Catholic High School, she moved to the Los Angeles area to study communications at Santa Monica College, drawn, like thousands before her, by the promise of a career in entertainment. She was signed with a national modeling agency. She had won a Hometown Hotties competition for Maxim magazine. She had a small role in a 2005 film. She was building something. At some point, Juliana began a relationship with a man named Dr. Munir Uwaida, a Lebanese-American orthopedic surgeon with a sprawling medical business empire in Southern California. According to those who knew her, the relationship ended abruptly around the time of her 21st birthday, when Juliana discovered, reportedly on a trip to Las Vegas together, that Uwaida had a wife and 3 children in Lebanon, a fact he had concealed from her throughout their relationship. Despite the breakup, the connection between the two families didn't end there. According to prosecutors, Uwaida reached out to Juliana's father, Greg Redding, a pharmacist from Arizona, and proposed a lucrative business deal. The management of a pharmaceutical company called Golden State Pharmaceuticals, accompanied by promises that reportedly included a Lamborghini and a down payment on a house. Greg Redding was interested. For a time, things moved forward. Then they didn't. In early March 2008, Greg Redding made a decision. He had learned, according to court filings, that Dr. Uwaida was the subject of a California Board of Medical Examiners investigation and had been ordered by a federal court to pay over $1 million following a civil fraud finding. Greg Redding pulled out of the deal. 5 days later, his daughter was dead. Police believe the killer entered Juliana's bungalow on Centinela Avenue just before 10 p.m. on the night of March 15, 2008. What followed, according to investigators, was not a quick confrontation. It was a fight that moved through the entire apartment. Juliana fought back. Investigators found her own DNA beneath her fingernails, evidence that she had desperately clawed at the hands around her throat in her final moments. She was 21 years old. The following morning, March 16th, Juliana's mother called police after her daughter missed a scheduled photo shoot and couldn't be reached. When officers arrived at the apartment on Centinela Avenue, they found Juliana Redding beaten and strangled. They also found the gas stove left on and a candle burning, an apparent attempt to destroy the scene in an explosion. As one investigator later put it, whoever did this wanted to blow the entire crime scene up. The attempt failed. What they left behind would take 2 years to untangle, but would eventually point directly at a name. When detectives first processed the scene, the DNA evidence was nothing they expected in its volume and specificity. According to prosecutor Alan Jackson, the same unknown profile appeared in 6 separate locations: the front door lock, the victim's cell phone, the front and back of her shirt, and, most significantly, on Juliana's neck itself. The profile belonged to a woman. That immediately complicated theories about Juliana's former boyfriend, John Gilmore, who had a documented history of volatile behavior and had reportedly visited the apartment the morning after the estimated time of death. Gilmore, however, had an alibi. Investigators turned their attention to Dr. Uwaida's network. According to court documents, Uwaida employed a woman named Kelly Soo Park, a Korean-American real estate broker and financial assistant who, prosecutors alleged, also served an entirely different function for her employer. According to prosecutors, Uwaida paid Park hundreds of thousands of dollars and referred to her, in his own words, as James Bond. She was, according to the prosecution's theory, his enforcer, to gather her DNA discreetly. Investigators followed Park and collected a discarded cigarette butt. The results, according to the lead detective Karen Thompson, were stunning. Every DNA sample recovered from Juliana Redding's apartment matched Kelly Soo Park. Two women who, according to evidence, had never met before the night of March 15th. On March 17th, 2010, 2 years after the murder, Kelly Soo Park was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. She pleaded not guilty and was granted $3.5 million bail. 2 days after Park's arrest, Dr. Munir Uwaida boarded a flight and left the United States. Authorities believe he traveled to Beirut, Lebanon, where he remained. A second suspect, Ronnie Wayne Case, Park's then-boyfriend and an amateur race car driver, was also arrested, but the district attorney's office declined to charge him, and he was released. The trial of Kelly Soo Park began in May 2013, 5 years after Juliana Redding was killed. The prosecution entered the courtroom confident. The DNA case, in their words, was overwhelming. Park's DNA was on the door lock, on the phone, on the clothing, on the throat of the victim, and there was one additional piece of evidence: a single drop of blood found in a fingerprint on a plate in the kitchen sink. That fingerprint, according to prosecutors, belonged to Kelly Soo Park's left thumb. Prosecutor Stacey Okenwees told the jury, according to court transcripts, she took her bare hands, placed them around Juliana's neck, and she strangled her till she had her last breath of air. The defense never disputed that the DNA belonged to Park. Instead, Park's attorney argued that DNA alone does not prove presence at the time of the murder. The defense's theory, according to court records, was that Park's DNA could have been transferred to the scene inadvertently, possibly via a towel used months earlier at Dr. Uwaida's Beverly Hills home, a residence that both Park and Juliana had previously visited. The jury deliberated for more than a week. On June 4th, 2013, Kelly Soo Park was acquitted of both first and second-degree murder. Friends and family of Juliana Redding screamed in the courtroom. Park was escorted out through a rear exit. Jurors were not interviewed. No explanation for the verdict was ever publicly offered. In 2015, Park was arrested again, this time as part of a $150 million insurance fraud indictment connected to Dr. Uwaida's medical empire. According to prosecutors, Uwaida had allegedly orchestrated a scheme involving unnecessary surgeries performed on patients without his presence, with a physician's assistant standing in as the surgeon. Park was named in that indictment on charges including conspiracy, aggravated mayhem, and insurance fraud, charges carrying potential life sentences. Dr. Munir Uwaida was arrested in Germany in connection with the fraud indictment and was awaiting extradition proceedings as of the time of reporting. He has denied involvement in Juliana Redding's murder. Juliana Redding was 21 years old. She had moved to Los Angeles to build a life, a career, a future. She was, by every account, someone who should not have ended up the way she did. The forensic evidence pointed at a killer. The motive pointed at the man who allegedly sent her. And yet the legal system produced no conviction, and the man prosecutors believe ordered her death has not been charged in connection with her murder. Her case remains officially unsolved. Juliana Redding was 21 years old. She had moved to Los Angeles to build a life, a career, a future. She was, by every account, someone who should not have ended up the way she did. The forensic evidence pointed at a killer. The motive pointed at the man who allegedly sent her. And yet the legal system produced no conviction, and the man prosecutors believe ordered her death has not been charged in connection with her murder. Her case remains officially unsolved. If this story stayed with you, drop a comment below. It matters more than you think. And if you haven't subscribed, these are the kinds of stories this channel exists to tell. There are more of them. They deserve to be heard.